Am I on? All right, good. All right, so again, we're picking up on chapter 12. I know they have covered a lot on chapter 10 and 11, and again, there is a lot of discussions going on between what's going on with the Gentiles, the Jews, and all that kind of stuff. So Paul is just trying to give us some light on how we need to be acting as children of Yahweh. So we're going to pick up on chapter 12. If somebody will read from verses 1 and 2. We can stay short on those verses if somebody would like to read. And please read. Go ahead.
Through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim.
I think that's a perfect way to start the chapter. If we can see, Paul is talking about just present your bodies as an offering, as a living offering, set apart and pleasing to Elohim. What do you think he means by that? What do you think he's referring to when he's talking about that? To please him, right? Yeah, to do his will. That's what I was seeing, and we have been studying in the parshas, in the Torah, and even this makes a lot of sense, especially what was going on around the time, is not forgetting the way that we need to live our life when it comes to following the Elohim. Okay, when we're talking about a living offering, living sacrifice, talk about something that is real, something that is that is not gonna go away, something that you're doing yourself. I'm thinking like every day. You know, it's nothing that you do once and for all, but it's also something that you do every day of your life, because we are in a walk that that a lot of stuff can get on the way. And I think by presenting ourselves to Him, set apart, we have to be set apart. That's one of the things, at least in my life, and that I have been sharing a lot with it, is how we are. And I think what Paul showed building up all these chapters before this, how us, as His people, as the children of Israel, present to Elohim, set apart, and in a way that He can be glorified, in a way that He can know that we are doing His will, we're doing the right thing. So that is the truth. Do not be conformed to this world. I think it goes back to verse 1. What does this world has to offer us that Elohim hasn't given us, or is not good enough for us? That's it. That's it. This world has nothing good to offer us, and we are not supposed to be conformed to this world. And that might be easier to say than do. You know, because that's what we see every day. You know, especially in the beginning, I always like to share this. When I first started coming here, and for about 3-4 months, it's like I had bought a lot with Dale, and it's like, you know, this guy's not going to tell me that I cannot eat a pepperoni pizza, you know, or something like that, because it's easy. That's what you go around, and that's what you see, you know, or how to do the things that the world is doing. It's like I was sharing also with one of my bosses at school is he was asking me about Christmas and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, you know what? When I was 14 and I started reading Constantine way before I started walking in Torah, I decided and I told my family, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. I think this was not given by the Father. I want to do something completely different that the whole world is doing. So it's very easy to follow along with what the whole world is doing. And it's very easy for us. I think the problem becomes when we fall too much into that we forget what the Father says. And we started doing our own traditions, the world's tradition, that go against the Scripture, and now we're going in a completely different path than what our Father was giving us. That's the thing. And look, we're going to do things in this world that the best that we can, we just need to try to do just to honor Him. I mean, for example, we have jobs, you know, I'm coaching and things like that. I mean, it's like, okay, baseball is not biblical or anything like that, but that's the job, that's the gift that I have that I can share with people what God has done for me. But I'm not going to let that to be my life. And trust me, I have done it before. You know, I was so many times I was trying to do my own will, doing the stuff in baseball because I was really good at it. I wanted to be famous. I wanted everybody to see me. Instead of just letting Him use me in what He gave me to honor Him. So those are two different things that we definitely need to be aware. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do we renovate our mind? How can we renew our thoughts?
Being in the Word every day so that His thoughts become our thoughts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, she's more than welcome here. Hey, baby. She wants to know. She wants to participate. Yeah. Anybody has anything else when it comes by be transformed by the renewing of your mind?
About sacrifices don't survive the sacrifices.
Yes.
So you die to self. And once you die to self, you've got to learn a new way of living, and you can't do that if you're not focused in on what you made the sacrifice to begin with. So you die to self and learn this new way of living. Hopefully.
No, that's true. And I think, like Ms. Angie was saying, for us to renew our mind, what are we being taught in Scripture when it comes to learning His way? We do everything cyclical. We read the Torah every year, the same thing, and even like we are supposed to teach our children diligently. We are supposed to talk about the Torah in the morning, in the evening, when we sit down, when we lay down, when we go to bed, when we're doing everything, we're supposed to be teaching our kids about Torah. And by teaching, I don't know if you guys have done that, but sometimes when you're teaching, you learn more. Especially when you are preparing, and you start seeing a lot of things that you didn't see before when you are doing it. And that's a way to renew our mind, and to renew our mind in Him, to understand what He wants, what He knows our hearts and our mind. Now it's time for us to know His mind and His heart and do exactly what He wants us to do every day. I don't know in the Hebrew, and we can search. I mean, but renewing, if we're talking, can be what, Berit? Instead of a new
I wonder
or
what the
renewing.
Greek word for renewing there is.
That's a good question.
To make new again, most likely, but I just wondered if that was So it's like, he says in the first verse, he tells you how you're to be, and then don't be conformed to this world, because that's the opposite of what he's just said. Because the world doesn't set their bodies apart. They don't set apart to Elohim. That's not pleasing to Him. They're not a living sacrifice. So he sets up. This is how you're to be. not like this.
Not like this.
And this is how you're to do that, by the second part of the verse, by renewing your mind.
Yeah, and by doing that, and that's the second part of the verse 2, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire to Elohim.
How and then the why.
That's the how and that's the why.
Greek word, but I don't know how to say it.
Try
What's
it.
What's the meaning?
The meaning is renovation or renewing,
Okay.
so not
Okay.
anakahenosis.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds Greek to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. We have to renew our minds and just to prove them well-pleasing in the perfect desire of Elohim. And the only way that we can know that is by studying His Word, by praying, by being on that perfect communication with Him to know what His perfect desire is. And there's not, for me, there is not such a thing as over-communication. And again, goes back to work. One of the things before in other schools that I have been, man, the communication was awful. So you didn't know what to expect. Now with my boss, they send 10,000 emails a day. There is a lot of communication. But at least I know what she wants me to do so I can do it right. And know that if something happened, hey, it is on me. Because she told me what I needed to do and I didn't do it. So that communication with Elohim is the same. He told us what we need to do. And if we're just going to study this just once a year, once every 2 years, something like that, we're going to forget. And that's the same way that when I was talking in the Parsha, how for 40 years the people of Israel, after the end of the 40 years, they were actually ready to enter the land. But for 40 years, they were preparing themselves. They were not ready before. They have to learn the ways of the Father to be ready to come to the land that was promised to them. So that's the reason why we have to be coming every day to Him so what we know what do they need to do. And Paul is here talking to a group of believers in Yeshua that from different backgrounds. So he's telling that the same thing that we need to do, he's telling everyone, I don't care what you do, but everybody needs to come here to the same mind. This is the things that we need to do for us to understand the desire of Elohim. So I think there was no way that they could say, oh, I don't know what he said, or I don't know what he wanted to do there. So anyway, any other question or thing that you would like to share in those two verses there?
Form there, that I guess that means to be reformed or into a more set apart, holy state of mind.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense what he said, yeah. That's the way I see it too. Yep.
Conformed. we're to be
Instead of
transformed.
conform, there you go. You're saying transform. Right, somebody will read from just verse 3. Just verse 3.
Through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as Elohim has given to each a measure of belief.
Yep. Not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as Elohim has given to each a measure of belief. Everyone is different. Everybody have been called to do different things. And to the point that we need to honor him for what he has given us. And be just thankful that he has given us that. And he's not going to give us something that we don't feel comfortable to. Well, and sometimes we have to get a little bit out of our comfort zone, like Moshe did himself. But not to think of himself more highly. It's not about us. You know, it's not about how much we know, how much we think we know, how much better that we think that we're anybody else. And it's just because of him. As Elohim has given to each a measure of belief.
Probably learned firsthand before the road to Damascus. He probably thought quite highly of himself
Yeah.
as he was dragging believers out to prison.
Yes. You think how many examples we have around the Tanakh and the second writings, how he can humble somebody that thinks highly of themselves or they're doing things for the wrong reason. And even, I mean, talking about back to the Parsha this last week, and even talking about Moshe being such a man of, I mean, anybody that have a relationship with Elohim better than Moshe was probably Messiah. But even Moshe had to humble himself to the point that he did something that even the Father said, I'm sorry, Moshe, you're not going in. You're going to see it, but this is the end of the road for you, you know? And that has to be hard. And somebody as humble as Moshe was, and we're not better than anybody. We are not kings, pastors, teachers, rabbis. We cannot think that or they cannot think, oh man, we're here, we're better than anybody. No, we have to come back to say, he's the one in charge. We're doing things because he allowed us to do it. And especially at the time that Paul is talking, how many people are teaching different things? Not only the disciples that they were teaching about what Messiah was doing, but how many other false Messiah was going around. And for them to know that it was not about them, because everything that Yeshua did pointed back to the Father. So there's no way that they could have argued, no, this guy's talking for himself, or he's teaching about himself. As there is so many other religions that will be about them. About Yeshua, it was not about him. It was about the Father.
Part of that verse that says, as Elohim has given to each a measure of belief. Would that mean he's simply saying, don't judge other people because Elohim is doing a work in their lives according to his measure, according to what he's got planned, and he's bringing them along. It doesn't mean, or does it, that he just gives you a measure of belief. Because he doesn't give you belief, does he?
He said he gives you a measure.
Yeah.
So, what's a measure? I mean,
You should be careful how you hear, but the measure you use, it will be measured back to you.
That's one point right there, yeah. Yeah, but I think at the same thought that Miss Andrew was talking is, when we see people doing things, it's like, how do we know, even when the disciples were doing things in the book of Acts, and even the Sanhedrin is like, hey, just let them do what they're doing, and if it's not from Elohim, it's completely going to go away. But it was from Elohim, so that's why it stays even to this day. So.
In other people's
Yeah.
lives, per his discretion.
Absolutely. Verse 4, for as we have many members in one body, but all members do not have the same function. So we, the many, are one body in Messiah, and members each one of one another. All right. One of those verses that a lot of people will think a lot of different things. We have many members in the body, in one body, but all members do not have the same function. So we, the many, are one body in Messiah, and members each one of one another.
the idea of unity within the body, despite our differences and different approaches to life and everything,
Different gifts.
different gifts. You know, the Messiah prayed that, Father, that they will be one with us as I am one with you, let them be one, you know. And I think that's what we struggle with a lot today, is being one with each other.
Absolutely. And I think that goes all the way back to, that's why I love the Shema, the Shema, Hear of Israel. And even when Messiah repeated, I think that's the key word right there is Israel, or children of Israel. He's referring to one people. And one people that is by native born and grafted in, as Paul was explaining it as well. We have been going so far away sometimes on dividing each other more than staying together and be a unity. And we can have our differences. That seriously cannot be addressed enough. That we can disagree in things. Because we don't have everything perfectly right now. But we do their best, we strive our best. I mean, like we have been talking about, people discussing about the moon and so many other different things, the land of the 60s and things like that. It's like, and there is some other major issues that people will try to interpret the scriptures to their own understanding and just completely separate each other. The more separation that we have, I believe that more than the enemy is enjoying it, the less that we can accomplish. Can a nation that is separate can stand together? Can a nation that is it's like you have one group of people doing one thing, you have another group of people doing one thing, and sometimes it's just not even a scriptural thing. It's just like different. Oh, I think this is it, and I think the more we separate, the more the enemy is just gaining ground on us. For example, we used to go in Dallas. We went to a Messianic congregation that it was more orthodox in the way that they do services and things like that. There were so many things that we didn't agree with it, but we believe that, hey, those are our brothers and sisters, and for everything else, when it comes to keeping Shabbat, other things like that, it's good, you know. Here, I mean, having here for 10 years, the things that Rabbi, Dale, anybody else have said, that it's like, I probably am not going to agree 100%, but that doesn't mean, hey, I'm just going to go and do my own group because they hurt my feelings or I don't feel good about it. So we are one body. We all have different functions. And it's not for ourselves. That's the part that we sometimes being selfish, that we think is for ourselves, but it's not for ourselves. It's for Him. And the more that we stay away from ourselves and just give it to Him, that's when we're going to realize, you know what, a lot of these things doesn't really matter as much, as long as it's not breaking Torah, let's put it that way. But we need to stay together the best that we can. Any other comment on that or question?
Going back to that measure of belief, I mean, could it? It's like in First Kepha, where he's talking about it. It almost sounds like the measure he's talking about is a foundation. You know, you've got like a measure. You got a part of the Torah that's in your heart that you can believe, whether you recognize it's Torah or not. And I'm wondering when he's talking about he gives everybody a measure of belief, it's he gives you a bit of a foundation to build your faith and your belief on, rather than just saying, okay, I'm giving you belief.
Yeah.
Now, who was the man, you know, when it came off the Mount of Transfiguration?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have something to grow on, you know. So I don't know. Anyway,
I'm
Well,
bothered by the passage. It says, well, I said a minute ago, where it said, be careful how you hear with the measure you use. it will be measured back to you, and those that have will be given more, and those that have not, even what they have will be taken away. So can we lose that measure of faith? Is that what he's talking about?
You're talking about more the fruits of that faith that you produce. I don't know. What's the parable, where he said you gave one guy this many talents, another, and one he gave one, and he didn't use it, so he took it away and gave it to the first one. So I think if you've got abilities you don't use, you're gonna lose blessings, I wonder if that's, and I know the judgments that you judge others by, that's the way he's gonna judge you. I mean, I think it's the reason Messiah warned us about judging somebody else's salvation or their redemption. We have to judge their works, by what they do, and if they break Torah, we have to judge that in an effort to help them grow and be stronger in the Word. But a lot of times we judge people as like, I'm glad I'm not like this fella here, I'm up here doing this and this tax collector down here.
But still, that measure of belief is, like you say, I'm thinking a lot about it. I mean, I'm trying to put it together too. where can so anywhere else that I have seen that? I mean, talking about belief, because again, you were talking about different measures in a different part, but it's like here on belief, I don't know. I don't really know.
The Greek word seems the same, metron, but it's a measure, an instrument for measuring, a vessel for receiving, dry or liquid, but in the same proverbially, the rule or standard of judgment, which, they kind of, instead of amount, more of like
Well, he's talking to
that
believers.
plumb line, that rule to go by.
Yeah. He's talking to believers, so we know they have belief.
Yes.
Does it change it, because in that line prior to that those words in italics, of himself, I mean, if you take that out,
Of
it's just saying
himself.
you're not to think more highly than you should. I don't know, does that change any of the context, or?
The italics, doesn't that mean it was inserted not in the original?
Yeah, to help.
Yeah, it's not on some of the oldest
In the
manuscript,
Greek,
yeah.
it seems to be saying not to be high-minded above what you must think, and even the "you" in this translation is italics. I guess that's more implied.
But isn't it, the whole idea is we don't leave anybody behind. When people stumble and fall, we don't judge them, we go get them and help them to come up to where they need to be. We don't judge them and just say, well, they're not worthy of anything,
Right.
They don't have the same faith, the same belief, they're not where I'm at, so I don't have time to food. The whole idea is you don't leave anybody behind.
What about when Paul gave him over to Satan? So
So
was
the
there a
young man
time?
was having the affair with his
Yeah.
stepmother, put him out, to save him. Put him outside his gate, and hopefully he'll see how wrong he is, and he'll come back.
We got tough love.
Because if you don't do anything, he'll stay doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If you turn your back or you don't say anything, he's gonna take it as an approval. And that destroys the testimony of the whole group.
But even that measure of belief, like I think you mentioned in the beginning, Rabbi, that like even when it goes back to the Torah, I think everyone, as we see in the Parsha, is like somewhere of another, in a small measure of another, you're keeping Torah in a way. Like a lot of these people, they don't even know it. They think, oh no, this has been done away, but by themselves, they do still keep a lot of the Torah without not knowing that it's actually in the Torah. It was commandment. It was given by Elohim. And some of them will have it in small amounts. Some of them will have it in, I guess, in a bigger amount. But that's a very good point there. And then, of course, verses 6 and 7 talk about continuing for verse 4 and 5. Somebody would like to read those, 6 and 7.
having different gifts according to the favor which was given to us, let us use them accordingly. If prophecy according to the proportion of belief, if serving in the serving, or he who is teaching in the teaching, or he who encourages in the encouragement, or he who is sharing in sincerity, or he who is leading in diligence, he who shows compassion joyously.
I guess before I ask everybody's opinion on this, the way I see this is, as long as we do what he asks us to do and we do our job, and he has everyone doing different things, we accomplish his purpose. I was reading, I'm doing I don't know, having started reading a lot of the book of Judges, and like the people getting ready to go to the land, and Elohim is telling his people in different ways to do their job. He's like, look, Jehoshua, you're going to tell the priests that they need to go into the river with the Ark of the Covenant. The people need to stay away 200 cubits, if I'm not mistaken. And by the time that the people started crossing, Jehoshua was repeating the Torah while the people was walking and crossing. But it's like everyone had a purpose and a goal. They were doing something. So the Levites were doing one job. Then he told, hey, just pick one man from each tribe to pick up a rock and take it. So that's a job that it was given specifically for them. But at the end, what does that accomplish? It accomplished the whole purpose of Elohim's desire. Things that we want to do. Again, it's not because, oh man, I did awesome. I mean, I feel good for what I did. It's good. But we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. You know, it's like when somebody sometimes say, hey man, good job. It's like, I just did what I was supposed to do. You know? And that's the way that it should be seen. When we do things, we're doing according to the things that he gave us so we can do it for his purpose, which is overall have his people doing the right thing and being unified. But everyone has different gifts. Everybody, he has given us different talents, and we're not doing it for ourselves, but we have to do it just for him and just to honor him. If we do our job, let's say, hey Moshe, do this. This is what I do. That's why in business or any type of job, some specific people is asked to do a specific task. You complete that, that's great. So that's the same that we do as the body of the Messiah. We have so many different gifts, but at the end it's going to be doing his purpose and doing what he's wanted us to do.
The hard thing sometimes is, I've been guilty of this, comparing myself with somebody else's gifts and wanting to do what they're doing instead of what I'm gifted or called to do. And you're never more happier than when you're functioning in the gift that he's given you. But I've been guilty of that.
Yes.
But it takes all, not being jealous of somebody else's, not thinking too high of yours, but humbly walking and all this. And I just saw this for the first time. He tells you when you're doing these gifts, how to do them, each one. Afterwards, he tells you how. If it's in sharing, do it in sincerity. If it's leading, do it with diligence. Compassion, do it joyously. I mean, he tells you not only what the gifts are, but how you're to do those things.
Yes.
What attitude you're to have it with. Because that's his gift to you.
It is. It is him giving it, and it is him the one that we are doing it in purpose, for his purpose. And I don't think sometimes it's bad. It's like, I guess it's like when you see somebody like Moshe, it's like, man, I want what Moshe wants, you know, what Moshe was doing. But it's like, okay, what type of relationship Moshe had with the Father that the Father was able to give him that big of a task? You know, and sometimes can be a small task as helping a person that is in need at the moment. I mean, that's what he's giving you right now. Hey, if you can do this, I might be able to give you a little bit more later on. But like you said, I think you said it perfectly, is we have to do it joyfully and knowing that what we're doing is not for us, hey, look at me. It's just because we're doing it because, hey, it's the right thing to do. He asked us to do this, or we're doing it for his body to grow. And it's like even the Levites, they have many different tasks that they needed to do throughout the day, throughout the week. And they have different shifts, but that they were appointed to do one thing at a time. You know.
Do that, you're going to be the best. And if your heart's in the right place to do it, to glorify Him, you're going to be the best at that particular thing that anybody else who could do it.
Absolutely. And the service part. I mean, I think, I don't know, somebody that is just by joyful for what they do is when you're happy and I mean you enjoy what you're doing. It's like you don't feel that, man, I'm not working. It's like sometimes, and this is just a personal story, but it's when I was doing the baseball agency stuff. I felt like, again, I was looking for my own glory. I was looking for people to look at me for the things that I have done. It's like I felt so many times that I was overdoing myself, or I was trying to be somebody that I was not, you know, but just to be with all these famous people around, you know, and it's like that hits me now more, just thinking, wow, things that happen, but for a reason. But just thinking is, when I'm doing something, when you're doing something that you are enjoying, that you feel fulfilled, that you are doing it according to His will, that's when you actually feel more like, man, it feels good.
I think that the Heavenly Father, He uses struggle to enhance your gifts or enhance your calling or leadership. I think about Moshe, how he, you know, struggled for 40 years in the backside of the wildernesses of Kerr or whatever. And yet God brought him around you know, used him in a mighty way. And I know in my own life, I've jumped out there thinking I was going to do something great for God, and then failed miserably. And yet began a struggle, which maybe He used that to humble me. To I guess it's a humbling process.
It is. It is. But that's the thing. The thing is, He has a plan. We either jump on the ship with Him and do the things according to His plan, but if we don't want to be that part of the people that want to do it, He's going to find somebody else to do our jobs. In this case, it was Moshe was supposed to lead them to the promised land. Didn't work. We have Joshua now. Lead them. Sometimes, hey, you have this king. This king didn't accomplish what he needed to do. I'm going to give you another one. So He has a plan. He has a purpose. He knows what He's doing. And He knows the end of all this, what's going to happen. But it's us that we're going to say, whatever you're giving us, we're going to do it to honor you, to glorify you, and to... There's no way that we can help Him, but we can just be part of His plan by doing what He's asking us to do. And that's a big difference than just doing things because, I don't know, it feels good, which is fine sometimes, but just when you're doing it for Him, that no matter what, His purpose is going to end up being His purpose, but it's going to be up to us that say, you know what, we want to serve you. What do you want me to do right now? Sometimes we're thinking too way ahead. It's like, man, I want to lead people. I want to do all this stuff. But it's like, okay, what are you doing now? I give you this gift. Use it. Use it to whatever I'm giving you right now at the moment.
Just take my daily bread.
That's it. Daily.
Bread.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, going back to Moshe, for 40 years, he was not speaking in front of everybody and doing all these things there. I imagine that there were the days that he has just to, man, I just need to rest. I just need to just take it easy and let everybody. I've told everyone what they needed to do. Hopefully everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. It's like anybody that owns a business or anything. It's like you're hiring the people, that is going to finish the project on a house. Again, if you don't have the right workers, what do? Set things aside, get somebody else that is going to get the job done. But your goal is to get that job done. It's the same with him. He has his purpose. He knows what he's going to do. He wants to use us all as a people for his purpose in his body to build and be part of his people and do the things that he wants us to do. Because no matter what, he's going to fulfill it. We either jump on it or stay away.
He can even use evil people to accomplish his purpose.
Absolutely.
So don't ever think that if you don't do it, it won't get done.
Yeah, and he's going to use the rocks to talk, or he's going to use a donkey to talk, but he's going to do something for people to understand that no matter what we do to try to stop it, he's going to finish it. Verse 9, I think is just very part of it. Let love be without hypocrisy. Shrink from what is weak. Cling to what is good. Let love be without hypocrisy. What does that mean to you? Love without hypocrisy.
Say it.
Good point.
Pure in heart.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it just be an act and to impress everybody, but
Yeah.
do it for the right reason.
Shrink from what is weak, cling to what is good. Anything that is us as a believer, anything that is outside his word, stay away from it. Cling to what is good, and what is good? He is good. His Torah is perfect. The Torah that he gave us is a perfect Torah. It's good. It should be good enough for us. Instead of us trying to be looking for other things to make us happy, to make us feel complete, or to make something that, I'm going to try to do this because this what makes sense to me. It's like everything is perfect and is good when it comes from him. And we sing, it is good to praise Yahweh, right? It's good to please him. It's good to do his will. Yes, cling to that. Cling to that. Clinging is like don't let it go. You know, that's what you need to do. Don't let it go. In brotherly love, tenderly loving towards one another, in appreciation, giving preference to each other, not idle in duty, ardent in spirit, serving the master, rejoicing in the expectancy, enduring under pressure, continuing steadfastly in prayer, imparting to the needs of the set apart ones, pursuing kindness toward strangers. Again, everything that we do, we should do it out of love and out of obedience. And that's what love is. That's what true love is. We go back to what Yeshua said, you love me, keep my commandments. In everything that we do, we have to do it joyful. That doesn't mean happy all the time, but it's like knowing that whatever circumstances you are, you still know that the Elohim that lives in you is with you, is greater than anything on this earth that we have. Serving the master. That's why we do what we do, to serve him. It's not about us. And I think that's what Paul keeps going back to it. Rejoicing in the expectancy, enduring under pressure. I mean, what is the world that we live right now? We live under pressure. I don't know about you guys, but I think we live under pressure all day long. This is our life. Why do you do what you do? Why do you keep Shabbat on Saturday, not Sunday? Why do you eat the way you do?
Giving preference to each other back up in verse 10, because I mean he's about to start this whole long list of wonderful things that we're to do. Giving preference, does that mean putting others before yourself?
I see it that way, giving preference to each other, put others before himself. In brotherly, it goes back to that brotherly love. What do we do for our brothers? And in appreciation, giving preference to each other. I think that's, I mean, even Messiah himself is like, I don't call you, I mean, you don't call me master, I'm your brother, I'm there with you. So it's like, don't think too much only about yourself, but think about others as well. And everybody else needs. Because that's what the whole Torah is about. And that's what I think we were talking even last Shabbat is loving Elohim with all our heart and loving our neighbor as ourselves. So we're putting our life is not only about, it's about him and about our brothers. But we forget one part of loving our neighbors. It's like that's very easy. But it say loving your neighbor as you love yourself. So we need to make sure we love ourselves, loving the Father, in that way we can love our neighbors.
Reference to each other kind of ties back to verse 1 about the living sacrifice.
Very true. Very, very true. Let me see another translation for that.
Say, to go before, show the way, lead, go before as a leader. And it looks like the word, I don't know how you say it, but it looks like progeny. It seems like progeny. And isn't that something that's,
It is.
you know, I think it would be related to that.
Progeny. Learning more and more.
Preference to someone else, but you're leading the way, like you're saying, to love your neighbor. You're showing them the way how to do it too. So
Amen.
You're taking the lead and going first,
Yeah.
because this is the preferred way.
And I think also, he's talking here about believers, and he's talking about the brothers. I think he's talking about that group of believers together. It's like, look, if you stay together, you are as a unity with your brothers and do what you're supposed to do. I mean, you're giving presents to each other, and like Miss Angie said, now you have all these great things that came right after that.
List of these, because it's not just individual, because it's like I need to go through this list for me, but then as a congregation,
Yes.
we need to go through this list and say, are we doing these things as a congregation, as a body?
And that's what we are supposed to be doing as his people. And doing it out of love. And that's one of the things that, I mean, I think a lot of this thing is connected to last Parsha is by keeping his Torah, by keeping his commandments, that we find all these things filling us, that we have the joy, we're doing it because we love him, is we are not going to need to try to find something from somewhere else. Or it's like I was sharing on Shabbat, it's like if we're doing his Torah the way he wanted us to do, we wouldn't need anything like government help or the United Nations or care for. I mean, it's like we wouldn't need all these outside institutions, because if we're doing what the word of Elohim said, everybody will have in the, I guess, his perfect environment is like we will be taking care of each other. Number one, by keeping his word, he's going to take care of us. But also us giving us more than what we need, we can bless on other people as well. So it's like if we were doing everything, we were doing it out of joy.
That he said, which is on the spiritual side versus the government we've created.
Absolutely.
You know, it's totally in opposition to his line of thinking.
Yes, completely. And even though we were trying to do it in the beginning close to what his word said, but it's like every year that passed, we're just getting farther and farther away from that. Yeah.
He says he's able to give us, he's able to make all grace abound toward us, having sufficiency. We would have an abundance for every good work. So it's
Absolutely.
a cycle.
Absolutely.
If we did what we were supposed to do,
Yeah.
give, then maybe we would see blessings on our end and then give more and blessing, kind of a cycle.
It is. Wow. That's very good point right there. Today was one of the hardest training that we have to do as educators, which is training when you have an in-school shooter. You know, and it's hard to go through all that training just thinking about what can happen to the mind, but they show you actually the psychological part of all this going on. But I think it's so sad. Like, look how far we are in society already that we have to worry about that. You know, even in a school that proclaims scripture the best that they can, you still worry about that because overall, we still have fallen so much from what he wanted us to be from the beginning because we're being either selfish, we're not paying attention to the things that we need to be. And a lot of people try to fill that hole with other things instead of his word. But it's hard. It's seriously hard to go to this training. Think about like 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid can be able to do a lot of those things. But it also goes back to a lot of our mentalities like, hey, I can do whatever I want. I don't care who is on my way. I mean, it's just about me. But if we were doing exactly what he was telling us to do from the beginning, we wouldn't be doing any of this. I mean, we seriously will be living in a world that the way he wanted it to be, and eventually we'll get there. But still, look at what sin have opened up to us not to live this way. I mean, we don't want to do things to serve him. We don't feel like we're rejoicing. Enduring under pressure, what do we do usually under pressure? We cave. You know? And we try to do completely the opposite of enduring. People will tell you, I mean, it's okay, it's like continue steadfastly in prayer, imparting to the needs of the set apart ones, just caring about others, pursuing kindness towards strangers. I mean, if you read this and we were following exactly what this says, the society that we have lived is completely different. And this is Paul talking about, again, a completely very mixed group of believers from different backgrounds. And this is where we need to be.
Instructions here.
27?
27, between verses 9 through 21.
Wow.
Of instructions for us individually and as a body. And not one of them say, get your own way.
Wow. It's all about others. Him and others.
None of it is about get your way.
That is incredible. Verse 14, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. It's the same that we are right now.
Didn't fall.
But this is hard to...
It's against our nature.
It goes against our nature.
Our worldly nature,
Yes.
not our spiritual nature.
Well, it's because when we focus on the people that are persecuting, we forget who the true enemy is. It's our adversary. It's Hasatan that we're against, not the people. He's just using them. And if we get bogged down with one-on-one, we're losing the battle because we're fighting the wrong enemy. We're skirmishing with the wrong one. We're destroying each other, and Hasatan's having a field day.
He's having a blast seeing all this. I don't know. Personally, that's a hard one. And I just think about the whole situation back home in Venezuela with the families, and I seriously have nothing good to say about them. You know, but like Rabbi is saying, is who is in charge? You know, who is the real enemy? I mean, is it the person, or we know the evil world that we live in, and bless them. Bless those that make fun of you for what you do, for the way that you believe, for what you eat, for what you wear, for whatsoever you keep, the feast that you keep. Bless them. I mean, that's what Yeshua did himself, right? He blessed them. Even those who were persecuting and spitting on him and all that, just, we need to bless them. Bless those. And this is a people that we're seeing them firsthand as well. And we're able, and for Paul to be able to say that, because he had to say that to himself, because he was being persecuted. So he was saying that to himself as well. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. And that's feeling for somebody else, you know, having sympathy for somebody else that's going through things. So rejoice when they're happy. Hey, be happy for them. What do we tend to do in the nature? Man, oh man, I'm jealous. Why is Michael is going so good for him, man? And that's our nature. It's like, instead of rejoicing for people for what they have done, and we are just more like, sometimes it's like, man, I hope they fall pretty hard, and they see, and that's completely opposite to what here is being saying. Weep with those who weep. I mean, have sympathy for those who are going through a hard time.
Without hypocrisy.
True caring. And we all have our different emotions, the way that we handle things. And somebody, even like, man, me and my wife, we're completely opposite when it comes to feelings. I mean, she can be crying for something that for me is like, why is she crying for? You know? But it's like, you know, I have started feeling more, it's like, you know what, that's the way that she was created, and I should be feeling more sympathy for that. For me, I can be like dying inside, and I'm going to be like straight face, try to make it tough, you know. But that's the way, for me, I like to get away. When I feel upset or sad, it's like I want to be away, I want to be left alone. Blair is like, she was like, I'm upset, but I want you right next to me. You know, it's, again, we just have to be and have the sympathy for those, the way that they do things, you know.
Kind of went past it, but who's he singling out in 13 with the set apart ones? I mean, is he talking about the body, or is he talking about the priesthood, or?
I think he's still talking about the body itself, of believers.
Talking about the remnant.
Yeah, the remnant, yes.
People that he's talking to.
Because by this time, the remnant is they're the ones that are set apart. The rest of them have all fallen in with the Greek or the rabbinic or Roman or whatever.
So he's saying, I mean, you want to, looks like that's participating in the needs of the set apart ones, but then kindness towards the strangers. So I mean, is he still trying to, is there a separation, I think is the question I'm trying to ask. Did he still see it as?
The context of strangers is what comes into question, because all through the Torah we're warning, you don't oppress the stranger. And the stranger there is the ger grafting.
Right, so is it the one that wants to participate in being set apart, not just the general? That's what I mean, it does still seem like, you know, that's.
With this translation though, you don't know that it's Ger.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Being a
that's the
Greek
problem.
translation, yeah.
But over and over where it says, you know, don't
In Greek, it just says hospitality.
But it also says, where is it, something strangers, because you may be entertaining angels unaware.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
And how do
it's-
you make strangers part of the set apart?
If
You
you-
show kindness to
Yes.
them, and then have them come and graft in.
Yeah. It's like that was part of the Parsha as well. Is, I mean, when Abraham, we saw the man coming, and he was kind to them and prepared a meal. I mean, he saw that where they were coming from, but I don't think he knew that he was actually with the messenger of Yahweh right there. And another way to help, like, kind to a stranger, like I was saying also with Moshe in the desert, that was helping these ladies, and one of them ended up being his wife. You know, it's like you never know what What can you do? And when we do things for them, it's like we're doing it for the Messiah, like himself. It's like, when do you feed? Like you're saying that we fed you, we gave you clothes, but when do we did all this? It's like when you did it to others, it's like you were doing it to me. Just paraphrasing right there. But that's the way that I see it as well, is we don't know who are we, I guess, sometimes talking or dealing with. I mean, who was the judge that, I mean, even so many people in the Tanakh, in the Torah, that talks about that they have no idea that they have the presence of the messenger of Elohim right there with them. They thought it was just another person. They were fighting another person until they saw it going into it. It's like, well, okay, this, wow. So it's like you don't know. Yeah.
Who he's sending your way
Yeah.
to give you the opportunity to do Torah.
And he always going to put opportunities for us. Like, again, going back to it, it's like he put opportunities for us to be blessed by blessing others. And we do it with the right heart. We want to do it because we want to be obedient to his word. We're blessing somebody in need, but at the same time, we're getting those blessings as well. So that makes us, it's just a cycle. We are blessed, we're being blessed, we bless others, he bless us, it's just keep going back. Are we on verse 16? Be on the same mind toward one another. Do not be proud in mind, but go along with the lowly. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Be on the same mind toward one another. What does that mean by that? 16.
In your own estimation. Back to verse 3. Don't think more high of yourself than you should.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the people that you think are the most simple-minded and the lowest of the congregation, or the lowest of society, that can be the most sincere and honest and really pour out to you, so you don't overlook them just because they're not the smartest or the best dressed or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's, I mean, at the end, do not be wise on your own estimation. I think the only way that we can have the same mind toward another is like if we follow what the scripture says and do it his way. It's not going to be on what you think is right, what you think is just. It's going to be one mind thinking the way that he thinks, doing his ways. Repay no one evil for evil. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. You see, I think sometimes we think, and like I remember being told, like that one when he said, repay no one evil for evil, I think they they tried to say like two for a tooth. It's like, that's not evil for evil. That's completely different things that you're talking about. I mean, evil has nothing to do, even it has nothing to do with what our Father wants us to live on, the way that he gave us his Torah. But respect what is right in the sight of all men. What is right, again? I think what he said is right. But he's talking about here to, I don't know, what is right in the sight of all men? Because I think all men will have a different explanation of what is right. Trying to look in another verse here.
I don't know. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. Does that just mean be respectful?
It
It
seems that
doesn't
way.
mean conforming to people's opinions.
Yeah.
That's not it. It's just being respectful
Mm-hmm.
to all men. That's just the way I see it.
respect what is right. So you don't respect something that's wrong. Or is he saying, respect what is right in the sight of all men? I mean, I think it goes back to you're gonna have differences with people, but as long as their differences don't go against what is right in Scripture, don't make it an issue.
But you see, I'm reading it, and I have a Greek Spanish version of it, and it seems a little bit different. It seems more, at least in this way, that it said procurar, which is like try to do what is right in front of all men. That's the way. I mean, it seems like a different translation to what it says right there. Yes. Knowing their, yeah, he says like try to do the right in front of all men. I mean, I think it's different from what the Scripture says. At least, I mean, in these versions, respect what is right in the sight of all men. But again, I'm going back to the Greek and Spanish that I can understand it a little bit better. It says more like try to do the right, what is right in front or the land in front of all men. Yeah. Yep.
After being to turn aside what is right.
When I looked up that word, good, well, right, it says good, but the definition, it reads like Philippians 4:8, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is righteous, whatever is, like, the definition of that word has all that in it. Honorable, agreeable, comforting, confirming honor.
But it goes back, I don't think he's saying like do what is right for every person, because everybody's gonna have that. I think it's more like you do what is right in front of everyone.
Thinking beforehand, good things before all men.
That's a
Kind
better
of
way
like
to
that-
put it as
yeah,
well
that
too.
mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good sometimes reading in other translations so you can see a better view. But again, I understand it better that way. I think he's saying you try to do the right thing in front of everyone, in front of all men. That's good. Yeah. If possible, 18. There you go. Oh, we live in a world that doesn't happen anymore. Everybody does something. Oh, man. Now with social media, we have, what do they call the social media judges now or something like that? Like, yeah, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook judges that everybody finds what's going on and everybody jumps on that person without, hey, is it innocent or not? We're jumping into conclusions without he knows the situation. We have no idea, but that's the world that we live right now. If possible, on your part, verse 18, be at peace with all men. If possible. I like that too. And it seems like going back to Greek, Spanish, it says that, if possible, depending on you, be at peace with all men. And I think that goes back more to what you were saying, is like be respectful. Doesn't mean that you might agree in a lot of the things that they say, but at least be respectful of, I guess, of their belief without, I mean, I guess you can tell somebody, like Rabbi said, if you're wrong, especially according to the Scripture, but just be respectful of their belief, well, not their belief, their, I don't know, be at peace. Just be at peace with everyone. I took like, they make me take one of those, how is it called? I need to find the name because I think it's very interesting. This is the first time I heard about it. You guys will probably know because your English is better than mine. But it's called, hold on, I have it right here. Enneagram is ENNEAGRAM. Enneagram. So it's basically a test that you take, and for some reason we have to take it to see what kind of personality you have. And one was like a peacemaker. I was like, okay, I'll take that one. Like somebody that is more conflicts and things like that, but it's like, yeah, I like that. I like to be a peacemaker. Sometimes it's a good thing, especially trying to argue things with Blair that doesn't go my way for the most part. All right, anything on those verses before we go to just finish the chapter from 19 to 21? You guys can see there. All right, well, somebody just finishing reading from 19 through 21.
Do not revenge yourselves, but give place to the wrath, for it has been written, Vengeance is mine, I shall repay, says Yahweh. Instead, if your enemy hungers, feed him. If he thirsts, give him a drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Amen. Hey, that's my peacemaker right there.
Fire on their head.
Yeah. I mean, just think about that. Like, can you imagine just treating somebody good that is treating you bad? I mean, that's just like, why are you doing this?
Oh, wow.
But I think it's just great the way you say, instead, if your enemy is hunger, feed him. If he is thirst, giving a drink. For in doing so, you shall heap coals of fire on his head.
Sustenance. I don't think it's food and drink. I think
No,
it's
yeah.
show kindness.
Show kindness.
Provide, give provision.
That's the only way. I think unity, I think unity, as he was talking at the beginning of the chapter, shows everyone around when Yeshua said, like, that they can be one, like we are one, so the world will know that you sent me. So we have that part there. And then the second part is by showing this kindness, I think we put that into people, it's like, why they are that way? I mean, why are they helping me when I was so mean to them? Why are they giving me this? Why are they, I mean, overall.
I think the foster system has a lot of that presented to it. I guess, I mean, these children, I was hearing a story recently, these children come from such abused places, and the people that are now loving and trying to care for them, they're the ones that get lashed out at, you know, and the kids really don't, they're just trying to find a place and trying to find, and really, and I guess if you could treat all people like that, like really, ideally, somebody's just really hurting, that's treating people, you know, hurt people, right? That's the saying. So.
Sometimes the people are like the most vulnerable one that the more that you try to show that they can understand. It's like when Yeshua is talking to the Samaritan woman. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, we're not even supposed to be talking, and you're showing all this kindness. You know all these things about me. You know, that's a good instance. I mean, I guess it's not a completely an enemy, but when we show kindness to those people, it's like, what are you doing that for? You know, you don't believe what I believe. I'm an atheist or whatever. You know, it's like, no, it doesn't matter. You're doing it because of him. Again, we're not doing, but it has to come from here. You're not going to do that making yourself doing it just, no, that has to come from you. I mean, you have to have that such a heart, so like him, that you're able to, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll go and talk to somebody that from another faith, that Islam, and just talk with them, or just, you know, show it's like, hey, we're not supposed to be talking. I mean, we're supposed to be hating each other and blowing everybody's mind, but no, we're just here. just talking, have a good conversation, you know, have a cup of coffee. I don't know, but just showing kindness to those that are not expecting, or those who, in this case, hate you, or feels that they're your enemy, separate completely from you.
Works and sometimes it doesn't. So
Mhm.
I'm reminded of the scripture, do not weary of doing good.
Yes.
I worked with, long story short, a girl, and she was really my enemy. I mean, just, you know, everywhere I turned. And I just prayed, and I said, Father, help me to see her and love her like you do. And I was kind to her, not for any other reason than he answered that prayer. And over probably a period of a month or so, she just totally changed.
Wow.
And just sought me out after that, and watched my back, and just to this day is a friend.
Wow.
But it didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
Now, I could have been drama back to her
Yeah.
and done what she was doing to me, and it wouldn't have had the same outcome. And I think, wow, this is great. This really works. And then the next time it's like, did not have the same outcome.
Yeah.
That person, their heart just didn't change, and they walked away. And it's like, well, that was discouraging.
Mhm.
But we're not too weary. We may not see that end result.
Mhm.
That person may down the line that you were kind to, it may change your life, and you may never know it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Overcome evil with good. I mean, it can be any perfect than that. And I think when Yeshua said, when they're rejecting us, when they are going against us, they're not doing against us. They're doing that to Him. You know, and that we're not the one fighting that battle. It's when they're rejecting His word. It's not us. It's not what we do. It's going back to Him. So that's why we have to show that compassion, knowing that, you know, it's like, man, you have no idea who you're messing with, you know. So it's just be a good, and that's what ambassadors do. If you think about that, we're supposed to be His ambassadors, just going out there and showing. But that's what ambassadors do. Sometimes they can be in enemy countries, but they try to keep the peace between those countries, or have a relationship between those countries, so they know that, hey, we still can have communication. We're still here no matter what's going on, you know. So that's the type of mind that we need to be said is, you know, we are His ambassador. We are in a world that doesn't want Him, but we're still here to proclaim those good news of Him and His Torah and what He has done. Yeah.
Light overcomes dark.
Absolutely. I mean, the time when a country say to an ambassador, you get out of here, you know that things are going to start getting bad. So, but again, it's like to that point, we still are ambassadors, that we have time to make things right, or try to have that relationship even with the enemy, that, hey, we're here, we're present, we're here in this world, Father, we're here for you. Messiah, we're here, we're trying to tell everyone, they are not listening, they want to do their own will, but we're still here. And I think it goes against our flesh, it does. But the more that we're close to Him and we see His heart and what He did, we can understand Him more of what He did, like giving His life for us when we certainly didn't deserve that.
Look at every single one of these things. Yeshua did every single one of them.
Everything.